a comprehensive look at trends, fund profiles, and more in Exploring ETFs.
Hi everyone, welcome to Exploring ETFs. I'm Neena Mishra, and today we are talking about most interesting new ETFs that have launched in 2021. Now, just to give you a little bit of background, the ETF industry continues to grow at a torrid pace in 2021, and ETFs, US listed ETFs, have already gathered more than $500 billion in assets year to date, and that has already surpassed the total for 2020, which itself was a record. And while last year fixed income ETFs gathered a lot of money, this year most of the new money has been going into equity ETFs, and that is mainly due to excellent performance by the stock market this year, and plain vanilla cheap equity ETFs like VOO, IVV, VTI, which provide exposure to the entire stock market, they have gathered most of the inflows this year. Now, why is the industry growing so fast? It is because many investors are pulling money out of mutual funds and putting into ETFs. That is because ETFs are more tax efficient, cost efficient, and more transparent and diversified. Now, many active managers are also using ETFs now, either in combination with other stocks or as a replacement for stocks for their active strategies. And ETFs are increasingly being used by institutional investors and in model portfolios by advisors. So those are the reasons why the ETF industry is growing very fast. And ETF providers continue to launch a number of new products. Some of them are very interesting because they want to grab a share of this ever increasing pie. And more than 250 ETFs and ETNs have launched this year, and we will take a look at 4 ETFs, new ETFs, that I think are very, very interesting. So the first one we are talking about is by ARK. It is the ARK Space Exploration and Innovation ETF, ticker symbol ARKX. And I have discussed this ETF in a couple of other videos too, because this generated so much excitement. Space is an exciting theme, and Cathie Wood and Cathie Wood's ETF, ARK ETFs, they are a hot area after their excellent performance in 2020. So this takes a broader view of space. So in fact, if you go to the quote page, and from there, the external home page, ARK's web page for this ETF, you will see some holdings that may surprise you, but as I mentioned, it takes a broader view of space exploration and innovation. So you will see Trimble, ARK's its own 3D printing ETF, and Kratos. These are among the top holdings, and since I have discussed this in the past, I'm not going to spend a lot of time. Now, the second ETF that I'm highlighting is a very interesting ETF because it takes a very different angle on ESG or activist investing. So this is called Engine Number 1 Transform 500 ETF. Ticker symbol is VOTE. Now, this Engine Number 1 was a very little known activist investor company, and they gathered headlines. They gathered a lot of publicity when they won 3 board seats on the board of Exxon. And so this ETF, what it tries to do, instead of excluding companies that score low on ESG criteria, or including companies that score high on ESG or climate-related criteria, it provides you a portfolio which is very similar to the S&P 500 portfolio, but then it will use your money, it will use those proxy votes to push for changes at company both. So a very interesting concept for sure, and very cheap too. So you get broad market exposure at just 5 basis points expense ratio, and that is why the ETF has gathered 154 million in assets, though it is very new, June 22nd inception. Now again, to learn more about this ETF, you can go to the quote page. And from there, the external homepage, you can learn more about what this ETF aims to do. So it will use your power, the power of investors, to push for changes at companies, positive changes. And again, as I mentioned, you will get a portfolio which is very similar to the broad market portfolio. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, Google, and Tesla are the top holdings in the ETF. Now, the third one that I am highlighting is also very interesting. So this is currently the only Metaverse ETF. There was an ETF focused on Metaverse earlier, and that was liquidated. Now, probably this is the right time for a Metaverse ETF, because this topic is gaining attention. We heard Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg talk a lot about Metaverse during the company's recent earnings call. So this, as I mentioned, it holds companies which are focused on Metaverse, which is supposedly the next iteration of internet. It follows a proprietary weighting scheme, has 39 million in assets so far, and 70 basis points expense ratio. But expense ratio makes sense because of the kind of niche exposure that it provides. Again, to learn more, you can go to the quote page. And from there, the external homepage, you can learn more about this ETF. The Metaverse is defined as the successor to the current internet. It basically holds companies which are involved in these areas: compute, networking, virtual platforms, payments, etc. And if you look at the top holdings, NVIDIA, which is a very well-known AI and chip company, that is the top holding with more than 8%. Then you see Microsoft, Tencent. Well, there is some risk with holding Chinese companies as of now, which you should be aware of. Roblox, Autodesk, Taiwan Semi. These are the top holdings in the ETF. Now, the last one that I'm highlighting is also very interesting in my view and very unique too. It is the Direction Low Price Stock ETF, ticker symbol LOPX. This made its debut last month. It basically is a kind of meme stock ETF. So basically very low price stocks, around $2 to $5 at the time of selection, will be included in the portfolio, and they will be equal weighted at the time of selection. 50 basis points expense ratio, really small as of now, 5.2 million in assets. So if you want to look at this ETF, if you want to buy this ETF, please make sure to use a limit order, because this is really small. Again, to learn more about this ETF, you can go to the quote page. From there, the external home page, and look at what exactly it aims to do, and the top holdings. So it does have some liquidity and size screens. So minimum daily value traded over 1 million over the past 3 months, and market capitalization of at least 85 million. Closing price between $2 and $5 for August selection date, and closing price between $1.25 and $10 at February, May, and November selection dates. Now, holdings are going to surprise you, because AMC is the top holding. AMC, which is like the poster child of meme stock mania. This was included in the index when it was a low price stock but due to indexing quirks, this is still a top holding with almost 9% weight in the portfolio. When the AMC is currently trading over $30, then Tellurian, and there's so many companies that I do not even know, MoneyGram. These are the top holdings in the ETF. If you look at the sector weighting, energy stocks, which are really cheap, and financial stocks, which are also cheap, those are the top holdings in terms top sectors in terms of sector exposure. Information technology gets a relatively low weight because technology stocks, are generally more expensive. AMC, you should remember, will go out of the portfolio at the time of next rebalancing later this month. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to our videos so that you do not miss anything. And also make sure to check out zacks.com/promo for an interesting offer. And I will see you next week.